Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast.
We are covering chapter 221 today, titled Monster.
Monster, and let me tell you, that title is an understatement. We spend this whole chapter thinking we know who the monsters are, the salvage guys, the giant turtle, but the story just waits until the last second to pull the rug out and show us something truly terrifying in the sky.
The scale of it is almost incomprehensible. It fundamentally changes the stakes of what they're trying to do.
It really does. It's one of those moments that reminds you why you read this series. It's that hit of pure, uncut adventure and mystery. If you want to make sure you're on board for when we finally figure out what those things are, maybe chart a course to that subscribe button. We're on this voyage for the long haul.
Let's begin at the scene of the crime, or I suppose the scene of the meal.
Yeah, the monster trio just got swallowed whole by a gigantic turtle. Usopp, Chopper, and Nami are on the deck of the Mary just losing it, which, is fair. This isn't like falling into a whirlpool or getting chased by a sea king. Their three strongest fighters were just poof, gone, consumed.
Usopp and Chopper are trying to convince themselves it's all a dream. It's their classic coping mechanism when faced with the sheer absurdity of the Grand Line. If reality becomes too frightening, simply reject it.
It's a very relatable response. I mean, what are you supposed to do? You're on a tiny ship, your captain who is made of rubber, your swordsman who is basically a demon, and your chef who can kick fire into existence just got vored by a turtle the size of an island. I'd be trying to wake myself up too.
And then we have the newcomer's perspective. Iwell, the Robin in the story, who has been with the crew for a matter of days, just strolls up and says, completely deadpan, they were eaten. No emotion. Just a statement of fact. It's perfect.
It's so good. Everyone else is screaming, crying, having a full-blown meltdown, and she just walks in like she's announcing the weather. Cloudy with a chance of being digested.
It's a useful reality check. Panicking doesn't help. Acknowledging the problem is the first step to solving it. In my experience with Baroque works, the agents who panicked were the first to be eliminated. Survival often depends on an immediate, cold assessment of the facts. The fact was, they were inside the turtle.
That's a very pragmatic way of looking at it, but it just comes off as so chillingly funny. And then Usopp, desperate for someone to blame, immediately points the finger at Nami for sending them down there in the first place. And Nami's apology is the least sincere thing I have ever heard. She just goes, sorry, with this big goofy smile. She does not care.
I would argue she does care, just not about the reasons Usopp thinks. She cares about the result, not the method. In her mind, they were supposed to retrieve treasure. The fact that they were eaten is a mere complication in that plan. The mission was to acquire capital. Being consumed by local fauna is an operational risk she was willing to take with other people's lives.
That's our Nami. Gold is the goal. Everything else is just a workplace hazard. I love that she doesn't even try to pretend she feels bad about it. It's this honesty that makes her so great. Yes, I sent them to what was almost certain doom for money. What about it? But then Robin, again being the only one with a clear head, points out the real immediate problem.
The ropes. The lines they used to lower themselves down are still attached to the men, and now snagged in the turtle's mouth. This is no longer a problem of 3 missing crewmates. It is a problem of the entire ship's survival.
Which means when that turtle decides to dive, it's taking the Going Merry with it. The whole ship. They're all going to the bottom of the ocean. Suddenly, it's not just Usopp and Chopper losing their friends. It's Usopp, Chopper, Nami, and Robin about to die themselves. The stakes escalate in a heartbeat.
It's a terrifyingly practical problem. They have seconds to make a decision. On one side of the water, you have Masira's crew trying to pull their own captain to safety. Their loyalty is absolute. They're pulling with all their might to save their leader.
Right, because Masira got blasted by the knock-up stream, and he's just out cold in the water, and his crew is loyal. They're pulling on their ropes, trying to save their boss. It's this great little parallel scene. You have 2 crews, 2 sets of ropes, 2 rescue operations.
But Nami makes a different call. She looks at her own crew, at her own ship, and orders them to cut the ropes.
That's a captain's decision right there. It's brutal, it's cold. She's essentially sentencing Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji to death to save the rest of the crew and the ship. Usopp is horrified. He's shouting, "What about Luffy and the others?" He can't even comprehend it.
Is she, though? Or is she making the only logical choice? The men are gone, swallowed. For all she knows, they are already being dissolved in stomach acid. The ship, however, is real, and it is an immediate, verifiable danger. Sacrificing the ship for a lost cause dooms everyone. It is the classic trolley problem, but the trolley is a 1,000-ton turtle.
I mean, you're right, but it's the speed at which she makes the call. There's no hesitation, no what if. It's just cut them, snap decision. It's the kind of hard choice that shows you why she's a core member of this crew. She can be the pragmatist when Luffy is off being an idealist, or in this case, lunch.
It also shows an incredible, almost chilling amount of faith in those three. It's a layer of complexity that Usopp, in his panic, cannot see.
How do you mean? You were just saying they were a lost cause.
From a purely logical risk assessment standpoint, yes. But Nami has been with them since the beginning. She has seen Luffy defy death and logic time and again. She saw Zoro survive a wound from the world's greatest swordsman that should have killed him instantly. Does she truly believe they're dead? Or does she, on some subconscious level, believe that no matter what happens, they will find a way out, and her job, her most important job in that moment, is to make sure there's a ship waiting for them when they do?
Ooh, I like that. I really, really like that. It's not, they're gone, save ourselves. It's, they'll be fine, so let's make sure we are too. That puts a totally different spin on it. That's not cold, that's trust. It's the highest level of trust. It's saying, I trust you to handle the impossible, so I'll handle the possible.
A very particular, very straw hat kind of trust. It's a belief in miracles, couched in the most practical terms imaginable. She is securing their escape route, assuming they will inevitably require one.
And just as Usopp is about to bring the knife down, tears in his eyes, about to make this horrible choice, everything just goes dark, like pitch black. The water, the sky, everything. It's so sudden. The way the panels just go to pure black is so effective, just showing the characters' shocked faces.
It's an unnatural darkness. It's not nightfall. It's as if the light itself was just erased for a moment. It's oppressive, the kind of sudden shadow that makes every animal in a forest go silent.
And then, boom, a thud on the deck. It's Luffy. He just lands there. He's fine. He's got a big bag over his shoulder. And a second later, here comes Zoro, here comes Sanji, both also carrying bags. They're not even scratched. They look like they just got back from running errands.
They look more annoyed than anything else, as if being swallowed by a sea monster was a minor inconvenience that interrupted their treasure hunt. Zoro is complaining, Sanji is complaining. It's just another day at the office for them.
That's exactly the kind of thing that makes the monster trio so terrifying. The world literally runs out of ways to stop them. You can't cut them, you can't outthink them, you can't overpower them. You eat them? Fine. They'll just punch their way out from the inside and steal your lunch money on the way out. It's absurd.
What do you think happened inside the turtle? The darkness feels connected. It happened right before they were spat out.
I don't know. Did they just beat it up so bad from the inside that it passed out and spit them up? Did Zoro just get lost and accidentally cut a new exit in its stomach? The bags imply they found the shipwreck they were looking for inside the turtle. So they were eaten, found the treasure inside the monster, and then forced their way out.
Which would mean the turtle has been swallowing ships for a very, very long time. It's an ecosystem unto itself, a floating, living graveyard, and a very effective treasure chest, if you can survive the entrance fee.
And our boys just went in there and looted it. Of course they did. No wonder it spit them out. It probably had the worst indigestion of its life. So they're all back on board. They've got treasure. The immediate danger is over. Time to go, right?
Not quite. Masira, the salvage king, finally gets pulled out of the water by his crew. And he is not happy. He's sputtering and furious.
He pops up on their deck just raging, screaming about how this is his territory, his salvage, and they can't just steal from him and run. He's completely missed the part where they were eaten and came back. He's still stuck on the first problem.
And Nami, who was just moments ago ready to cut the boys loose and sentence them to a watery grave, hears the word treasure, and her entire demeanor changes.
Her ears literally perk up. You can see the berry signs in her eyes. All of a sudden, she's very interested in what this angry monkey man has to say. The moral crisis is over. It's back to business. Her focus is laser sharp.
The fight is about to start. Masira versus the newly returned monster trio. It seems like a foregone conclusion. Masira is puffing out his chest, trying to be intimidating.
A complete squash match. He has no idea what he's dealing with. But it never happens because one of Masira's crew shouts for him to look at the sky.
And then everyone stops. Masira, his crew, the Straw Hats, even the giant turtle, which is still just floating there, probably with a massive headache. They all go silent and look up.
The art here, it's just pure dread. This is One Piece at its best. You don't see what they're seeing at first. You just see their faces. Pure, unadulterated shock and terror. Nami's jaw is on the floor. Usopp's eyes are bugging out of his head. Even Zoro looks concerned, which is saying something.
It's the kind of fear that transcends rivalries. It's a primal, instinctual fear. Whatever is up there is so frightening that their petty squabble over treasure becomes meaningless. Their status as enemies is forgotten in the face of a shared, overwhelming terror.
And then we see it. A double-page spread. These shadows cast across the clouds. Huge, looming silhouettes of giant figures. They're humanoid, but wrong, distorted. Their limbs are too long. Their shapes are unnatural. Monstrous.
They're impossibly large, taller than mountains. They dwarf everything. For context, we just saw a turtle the size of an island, and these things make that turtle seem like a pet. The sense of scale is broken.
Super! This is what it's all about. This is that grand, terrifying sense of wonder that only One Piece can deliver. It's not just a big monster you can punch. It's a question. It's a mystery that feels ancient and unknowable. It's cosmic horror.
Think about the context. They are in the most volatile, unpredictable sea in the world, trying to get to an island that shouldn't exist in the sky. And now the sky itself is populated by giants. This is no longer a simple journey from point A to point B.
It reframes everything. They're not just trying to get to a place, they're trying to break into a whole other world, a world that might have gods or monsters guarding it. These aren't just obstacles, they feel like a fundamental part of this new reality they're trying to enter.
I've heard them called sea giants, which is a curious name for things appearing as shadows. Are they walking on the clouds? Are they something else entirely?
Maybe it's a trick of the light, a reflection on the clouds from something in the water below, but the shadows are so clear, so defined, and they move.
Or perhaps the sky sea is more literal than we thought. What if the White Sea is just another ocean and these are its inhabitants? We know from Cricket's ancestor, Mont Blanc Noland, that the City of Gold was a real place. The history of this island is steeped in things that sound like fairy tales, but turn out to be true. These giants, they feel like a living myth.
Nolan's whole story was about people not believing him, calling him a liar for what he saw. He saw the City of Gold and they executed him for it. And now the Straw Hats are seeing it for themselves. This is the proof. This is the romance Cricket was talking about. It's real.
It's exactly the kind of thing the world government would want to erase. A truth so massive and paradigm shifting that it threatens their control. Something that proves the world is bigger and stranger than they want people to believe. A phenomenon like this cannot be easily controlled or explained by their propaganda. It's a raw, untamable piece of the world's true history.
So what do our heroes do when faced with cosmic, unknowable horror? A sight that would make a lesser pirate crew just give up and go home? They do the smartest thing they've done all day.
They run.
They turn the merry around and get out of there as fast as possible. Nami is screaming to go. Usopp is freaking out. Luffy, who usually runs towards this stuff, is even on board with getting away. They are not sticking around to ask questions. This is a rare moment of unanimous agreement to flee.
Which is the correct response. You don't fight something like that. You don't try to understand it when you're directly beneath it. You survive it. You put distance between yourself and the phenomenon, and then you analyze.
So they put some distance between themselves and whatever that was, and they're all on deck, trying to process the absolute insanity of the last hour, being swallowed, fighting their way out, and then seeing literal titans in the sky. Luffy's just like, man, what a weird day. He has the best attitude.
The tonal whiplash is incredible. The story goes from a life-or-death survival situation to cosmic horror that questions the nature of their reality to this placid, almost comedic cool-down moment on the deck of the ship.
And in the middle of this cool-down, as they're all catching their breath, they realize someone extra is on the ship. It's Masira. He must have been clinging to the railing during their frantic escape.
He's still trying to argue about his territory. He's completely oblivious to the fact that they are all lucky to be alive. His mind is so small, so focused on his little salvage claim that he can't process the grandeur and terror of what they just witnessed. All he knows is that they have treasure that he believes is his.
And Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, without saying a single word to each other, just simultaneously wind up and kick him clean off the ship and into the ocean. There's no discussion, no what should we do, just a shared thought that telepathically travels between the three of them. This guy is annoying. And then, wham!
The problem is dealt with efficiently. The non-verbal communication between those three is a marvel. It is a dance of violence perfected through countless battles.
The synchronization is beautiful. It's the perfect, hilarious button on an otherwise terrifying chapter. They saw things that would break a normal person's mind, and their first clear, unified thought is, get this guy off our ship. It's so good.
It preserves the crew's dynamic and the sanctity of their space. The world can be horrifying, but their home, the Mary, is for them and them alone. Intruders will be removed. Immediately. It recenters the story back on them after being overwhelmed by the scale of the sky giants.
Absolutely. It starts with a simple salvage mission and ends with a glimpse into something primordial. What a ride! And that final shot of the Mary sailing away with those giant shadows still looming in the background, it's an image that sticks with you.
It makes you wonder what else is hiding up there. What else did Nolan see? Was the City of Gold the only secret the sky holds, or was it merely the gateway?
That's the question, isn't it? If those are the things just hanging out in the clouds, what is the actual island going to be like? I can't wait to find out. This feels like we've just passed the "Here There Be Dragons" part of the map.
I think this chapter will be a turning point for the crew's understanding of the world. They've seen impossible things before, giants on Little Garden, islands that eat ships, but this is different. This feels older, more fundamental.
That's a good way to put it. This isn't just a weird devil fruit power or a strange weather pattern. This feels like a fundamental law of their world that they just learned about. Like discovering gravity, only it's giant sky people.
And they learned it the hard way.
As always, the Straw Hat Way.
Speaking of the Straw Hat Way, we love hearing how you all are reacting to these moments alongside us. If a giant sky being left an impression on you, leave a comment down below and tell us what you thought it was the first time you read it. Were you scared, amazed, confused?
Okay, predictions. What's coming up in chapter 222? I'll go first. My first prediction is that Usopp is going to spend the first few pages trying to come up with a scientific explanation for the sky giants. He can't live in a world where that's just a thing that exists.
A refraction of light off a giant school of fish, amplified by atmospheric water vapor and interacting with the unique magnetic fields of the Grand Line to create a large-scale projection?
Exactly. Something that lets him sleep at night. He's going to rationalize it with a bunch of nonsense, and nobody else is going to buy it for a second. Luffy will just be like, cool, giants, and that'll be the end of it for him.
That seems very likely. My first prediction is that the giants are not a random phenomenon. They are a deliberate projection or a recurring natural event that acts as a warning system designed to scare people away from Skypiea, a kind of guardian that protects the path.
Like a celestial scarecrow. I like that. It makes it feel intentional. Okay, number 2 for me. They're finally gonna open those bags they salvaged from inside the turtle, and it's not going to be gold. Nami's going to be so disappointed. It's going to be something weird and useless for them in a monetary sense, but hugely important for getting to Skypiea, like a bunch of old dials or a logbook.
Interesting.
My second prediction connects back to the turtle. The darkness that fell right before the monster trio reappeared was not a coincidence. It wasn't caused by the turtle or their fight. I believe it was caused by the passing of those giant figures overhead, casting a shadow so large it blocked out the sun for a few moments. They didn't just see the giants from a distance, they were directly underneath them.
Bro, that's a chilling thought. So the darkness was the shadow of those things passing over? That makes it so much more real and immediate. It wasn't a vision, it was a physical presence. That's terrifying. Okay, last one for me. They're not done with the salvage cruise. They just kicked Masira off the ship. I predict in the next chapter or two, they're going to run into his brother, Shoju, who Cricket mentioned, and he is going to be even weirder and probably have some bizarre sonar-based power.
A family reunion seems inevitable. My final prediction, Nami will be furious if the treasure isn't gold, just as you said. But she'll quickly realize that whatever is in those bags is the key to their next problem, which will be repairing the Going Merry. The knock upstream did a lot of damage, and the ship is their lifeblood. I think their treasure is going to be the material they need to fix their ship before they can continue their ascent. Perhaps a strange type of wood or resin that can only be found in sunken ships in this specific part of the ocean.
So the solution to the problem caused by the sky is found at the bottom of the sea. That feels very One Piece. All right, that's all the time we have for today. What a chapter. It had everything. Comedy, high-stakes decisions, and a dose of cosmic horror.
Join us next time as we continue our journey upwards into the unknown. This has been Inherited Dawn.
We'll see you on the White Sea, hopefully without getting eaten on the way.